Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Miranda and this is currently my channel for books, but will eventually one day be all things I am interested in. So this video for Halloween weekend is going to be my October wrap up in terms of my reading and my November TBR or to be read. It is a little bit early, it's not quite the end of October, however I will be having a rather busy Halloween weekend, seeing as how I am getting married on the 30th, and decided I would rather film earlier rather than later. So yes, we're going to be doing the wrap up for October. Overall, I feel like I did pretty well. I had a few books on there, more than I've read in a month in quite a while, and I did pretty well. Yes. First up this month, I read Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo, following Kaz Brecker and a band of thieves that are hired to do what is considered an impossible heist. I loved this book. I loved Leigh Bardugo's use of the unreliable narration or not complete narration to give us enough detail to think we knew what was going on and then have the rug completely pulled under us, but still completely surprised where things went at all turns. And I loved the characters. I loved how complex and not totally perfect they were. None of them, well, a couple of them maybe. None of them really wanted to save the world. They were just in it mostly for themselves. And I found that to be a really interesting choice for character development, and it worked so well with the storyline. The characters were so well written. They were all amazing and great, and I loved them. And this book I rated 5 stars. Yeah, I found it to be fantastic. I liked it even more than the Shadow and Bone trilogy, which to me felt a little bit more of a standard fantasy novel. Person finds out they have powers, has to go on a quest to save the world, whereas this was more personal and chaotic and messy and violent actually too, and it was so well done, I think, and it just kind of left me really wanting more, which is great because the second book is Crooked Kingdom, which is the follow-up to Six of Crows, continuing after the events of the first book, which I cannot say for spoilers. Again, this absolutely fantastic, more development of the characters, just more schemes and shenanigans and impossible situations, and again, this one was another 5 stars. I waited to start it for a little bit after I finished Six of Crows, mostly because I was almost scared of what would happen and where things would go, because it had such an air of unpredictability to it that I just wasn't sure where it would go. But once I started reading it, I did not want to put it down. So this was another 5-star read for me. Again, the writing style I thought was fantastic. The complexity of the characters, the dark backgrounds, the dark situations, just everything I thought was so perfect and moody, and especially for an October read, I just thought it to be phenomenal. And yes, I definitely would rate this higher than the Shadow and Bone trilogy. This is definitely so far my favorite series or, realm that I've read from her. So yeah, Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdoms, high on my list. Definitely probably going to be books of the year. And yes, there is a cat trying to make his way over here right now. What are you doing, Beegs? You trying to say hi? Cat interruption aside, so yeah, these were the first 2 books of the month, both 5-star reads, which was great. Kind of really set me up for a great month. And yeah, again, I absolutely loved them. I would recommend them if you like kind of darker, a little bit more twisted, definitely messy and chaotic fantasy reads. This would be the book for you. Third book of the month was Spin the Dawn by Elizabeth Lim. This one was again the one that was described as Project Runway meets Mulan. Follows Maya Tamarin, a tailor, who goes to the castle of her country to compete to be the imperial tailor in an attempt to basically save her family. Her father was supposed to be the one to go in her stead, but he was too old and couldn't travel. Her brother couldn't go. He wasn't a tailor and he had been injured in a previous war. So she disguises herself as her brother and goes to the palace as him, faking his injury and everything. And this one was rather disappointing. I really, really wanted to love this one so much. I loved the premise of the story. I loved the idea. The story itself I loved too, but the execution of it is where it really fell flat for me. I don't know if it's her writing style, if it's this particular series, or what it was, but it felt like it was incomplete. There were many times where things kind of went quicker than I thought they should have, and there were like details that seemed to be missing. An event would happen and you'd be bouncing from thing to thing to thing to thing with like very little to connect it. It felt almost more like an outline in some parts than a fully completed and realized story, which was personally just very disappointing. And it also felt very rushed. It felt like this could have been separated, this entire series could have been separated into 3 or 4, maybe even 5 books and had things actually expanded on. The competition itself to be the Imperial Tailor was over within the first half of the book, I believe, and it focused on another part of the story. And I just found it to be very disappointing. I wanted more from the story. I wanted more of the detail. It felt like there was no real world building. There was no background to other characters as much besides the love interest. Maya's background was done all right, but I felt like there could have been more. There could have been more about the brothers that wasn't related to just directly how they interacted with her. There could have been more about the country itself, more about the world itself. There was just a lot more that could have been done with this. And I rated it 2 stars for that. I just wanted a lot more, and I really, really wanted to like this one. And by the end of the book, I found myself not caring too much because it just didn't feel very well done. So yeah, with that being said, that was the 3rd read of the month out of 2 star, unfortunately. 4th book of the month is actually Unravel the Dusk. I did decide to go ahead and keep reading the series even though I didn't feel too invested in it. I picked this copy up from the library instead of purchasing it because it just wasn't something that I felt would have too much reread value. Really, I just wanted to know how the story would develop, where it would go. And again, I felt disappointed. I felt let down. This was another 2-star read. And again, it was that the lack of detail. There was still no real world building, still no real character development of anyone else besides Maya. And in this one, she's battling her own descent into demonhood, so to say. Spoiler, I guess I should have spoiler alert earlier. Oh well. And it just felt very rushed. There were many, many events that happened that could have been expanded on, that could have been more fully realized, and it just felt, again, incomplete. More like an outline of the story than the story itself. And some of the characterization and things that happened kind of seemed to come out of nowhere. With Lady Sarnai, one of the characters, she seemed to be kind of flip-floppy in her characterization. And yeah, overall, just a little bit of, well, more than a little bit of a disappointment, but a disappointment. I really, really wanted to like this book. I really, really wanted it to blow me away. But unfortunately, this series, this duology, just fell flat. And I really had higher hopes for it. So yeah, those were the 3rd and 4th read of the months. Was this The Blood of the Stars, I believe the duology is actually called, with Spin the Dawn and Unravel the Dusk by Elizabeth Lim. Both I rated 2 stars. 5th book of the month was The Bone Houses by Emily Lloyd Jones. This one followed, I believe her name was Rin, the gravekeeper's daughter, or gravedigger's daughter, who lives in this town where the skeletons essentially, or the dead, have a chance to come back as zombies essentially, but they're called bone houses. Most of them come from the surrounding forest and not necessarily the graveyard she attends herself. There is a boy that comes to town, and when he comes to town, the bone houses start to actually attack, which was unheard of beforehand, so the two have to team up to figure out what is going on. This I rated 3 stars. It was a nice story. It was entertaining, a short read, a standalone. But it wasn't, super thrilling. It wasn't super spooky. There were a couple parts where I could see the suspense or the thrill of it all, where you don't know what's going to happen, certain scenes. But in general, it was a nice story. It wasn't bad. It was well written. I can definitely say that. It felt complete. It felt full. But just overall, you know, just a nice simple story. I'd probably reread it. But it didn't, you know, it didn't wow me like Six of Crows did. Left me wanting a little bit more detail, kind of scenes. And the cats knock over something. I was kind of wondering how long it would take them to knock over a lamp during this.
Not that long.
Not that long. Well, I mean, we got a bit of the way in.
Been going for 15 minutes.
Yeah, we've been going for 15 minutes and they hadn't knocked over yet. That's actually pretty good. That's pretty good. Pretty good. Okay. Cat shenanigans aside, yeah, I'll definitely recommend it for someone who is interested in a newer take on zombies that doesn't actually necessarily have to do with the entire world turning into zombies. It's definitely a more localized problem, so to say. Definitely a little bit of magic involved, but not a lot. But yeah, definitely a nice little story, nice little tale, standalone, easy read. So especially if you're looking for something short and simple, just kind of pick up in between maybe some series, this would be a good one. So yeah, I rated this 3 stars for the Bone Houses. Yeah, kind of neither here nor there. They really be zooming. So the 6th read of the month is Wilder Girls by Rory Power. This one wasn't originally on my TBR for the month. However, I did pick it up when I went book shopping, and I decided that reading about a all-girls school isolated on an island off the coast of Maine that is dealing with a plague or pandemic they call the tox that basically takes over their bodies, changes it. One girl's eye is essentially, the eyelid on one is kind of fused together. It feels like there's another eyelid growing underneath. One girl has a silver hand that's kind of scaly. Kind of just shifts their bodies into these weirder things. Just seemed like a perfect October read, and I've heard a lot of good things about this book, and I was really excited to pick it up, especially after having read some of the more disappointing books this month. I definitely wanted something that I hoped would be a higher rating for me. This was. I found this to be really well written. The story was really well done. It did feel like the ending was rushed, though. I wish that there was more detail when you find out what created the tox, as they call it. It just seems to be kind of briefly glanced over. Nothing much is really done with that, and the ending is left pretty loose in my opinion. I wish I knew what happened more with Hetty and Reese. Knowing more what happens to them as they try to, well, spoiler alert, as they try to leave the island. It felt like there could have been at least another couple more chapters to this to really tie it together. So I rated it 4 stars just for that, but overall it was a very good read. I didn't really want to put it down. I had to go to work. I was reading it on my breaks. Didn't really want to set it down. Just wanted to keep reading it. Wanted to know what was going on. Wanted to find out what was happening and why. And the intrigue, not knowing who you could really trust, was great. But yeah, it was just that ending kind of left me wanting more, and not necessarily in a way where I knew I was going to be satisfied, because I believe this is a standalone novel. So unfortunately, I don't think I'll ever know what happens to Hetty and Reese. Because it just kind of stops, and you know, I wish I had more, but overall great read, definitely a good one, especially if you are looking into something a little bit spookier, a little creepy. I wouldn't say it's necessarily horror, but definitely a little bit more thrilling, a little bit creepy, a little bit suspenseful in some parts. But yeah, Wilder Girls, 4-star read for me this month. That brings me to the last read of the month, which is Caraval by Stephanie Garber. This series was the last on my TBR, following Scarlet Dragna as she goes to Caraval, which is supposed to be this kind of magical traveling carnival. It's legendary. The person who runs it is coincidentally named Legend. It's supposed to be fantastical, whimsical. It's been compared to the Night Circus. As you can see, my bookmark's in here. I haven't finished. I find Scarlet to be incredibly annoying. I'm very disappointed. I expected a lot more out of this. And again, I'm only a quarter of the way through, so I'm probably missing some things. But it's really hard to make myself read this right now because I just find the main character so terribly annoying. I don't know what it is or why. Well, maybe I do know why. She just seems like she thinks she knows what's going on and she knows everything, but it's obvious that she doesn't, and she's just kind of acting ridiculous for image's sake, so to say. A little bit of spoilers, I will say there's a scene fairly near the beginning where they are in a rowboat that is sinking, and instead of listening to the advice of the sailor that she is with to disrobe and swim to shore so that they don't drown, she foolishly stays in the boat, tries to row, decides it's not going to work, jumps out in a full-on dress, and it sounds like it's a bit more of a layered. There's definitely mention of corsets, stays, heavy dress overlays. All of that, jumps in and almost drowns because her dress is too heavy, and then she gets upset at the sailor for leaving her even though she told him that she could swim. And the whole reason she couldn't swim was because she kept the dress on for prude's sake. Like, prudeness, whatever. It was a little bit annoying. There's more to that than, there's more to her being annoying than just that. Obviously, that was just kind of where I really knew I wasn't going to be able to tolerate her. And yeah, it's just disappointing. I bought the whole series expecting that I would really, really like this, and so far I don't. On top of Scarlett being annoying, it seems like there's going to be a lot of focus on the romance, which is, again, the only word I can think of is annoying. Her sister's missing, she's trying to find her, and it seems like she's going to be distracted from that a lot by ogling a man. Which I don't get. If my sister was missing and I had to find her, I wouldn't waste time thinking about how hot this dude is next to me. Like, I just wouldn't. That wouldn't be on the priority list. The writing style seems to be too overdramatic for me as well. Like, there's a lot of flowery, poetic prose that just doesn't seem to fit. It's kind of just there to be flowery and poetic. It doesn't really seem like it adds much to the story at all. She describes her her feelings as colors, which I understand could potentially maybe be a form of something like synesthesia. But I also think it was just a way for the author to use as many big words or, you know, adjectives as she could, just to have fluffy, poetic, unique prose. And yeah, again, I just find it annoying. I'm probably going to try to make myself continue to read this because I don't like not finishing books. But overall, I'm on chapter 12 and I just can't do it. I can't. It's so hard. And I don't understand why I was really hoping to like this book. So yeah, I don't know when I'm going to write this because technically I haven't finished, but I'm not exactly excited to finish it. So yeah, that was the last book of the month. Technically, the other two in the series were also part of the to be read. But again, with my feelings toward this book, they may or may not be read at some point in the future. So that was the wrap up for October. There was one more book on the list, which was Mexican Gothic. I did not get a chance to borrow that one from my friend. However, I am hoping to see her this month, in which case I will be trying to borrow it then and adding it on to November's to be read. So with that said, let's get into what I want to read this month. Suppose first on the list we could consider Mexican Gothic, again a carryover from last month that I'm still very interested to read. Been seeing very, very good reviews about it. Seems intriguing. Spooky season is never over, so I'll probably just read it as soon as I can borrow it from my friend, which will hopefully be the end of this week. But after that, the next one I would like to read is The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. Again, author of The Night Circus, but this one seems to be completely different, which I'm excited for. Follows a character named Zachary who discovers a book in his university library that has a chapter about him from his childhood and a mysterious door that he encounters that at the time he did not know was real and would take him anywhere, but as he's reading discovers would take him to the Starless Sea. After discovering the book, he goes on a journey to figure out what this means, how he can find the Starless Sea, what the symbols that he finds in the book, which are a bee, a key, and a sword, mean. And along the way, he meets 2 other people, and they go on a journey from there. Aaron Morgenstern, of course, wrote The Night Circus, which was very highly acclaimed. I remember reading it years ago and loving it. And again, I've seen good reviews for this one. So this one is, you know, pretty high up on my expectation list. I have started it. Seems like a slow start so far, but I'm hoping it will pick up and really just blow me away. So that is the first, but technically second, book that I would like to read in November. Next on the list is Serpent and Dove by Shelby Mahurin. If I'm saying that wrong, please correct me. I'm going to go with that for now. Following a witch who is forced into marriage with a witch hunter after a incident in the public realm. And of course, from there, stuff is going to happen. The witch seems like she has many powerful enemies, and the witch hunter is out to destroy everyone like her, including one of her friends. So far, this one seems pretty interesting, and I would like to read this and the follow-up to it, which is Blood and Honey. I did have started Serpent and Dove already. Seems like the world is French-inspired. Seems to be kind of old-timey. There's lots of talk of the church kind of being the rule. Lots of talk of like corsets and women only wearing dresses and not wearing pants and still being subservient to their husbands. So it does seem like it's set in an older time period. Definitely very interested to see where it goes. I hear the romance is very interesting, so to say, and I can only imagine the tension that there will be between a witch and a witch hunter. Yeah, on top of that, so far, I'm reading it, I'm liking it. My only complaint is the way they characterize corsets, because as anyone who has worn a corset before properly, they do not hurt and are not uncomfortable if you are wearing them properly and they are properly sized. To back up this argument, I will link a couple videos in the description, most notably from Bernadette Banner, to give you all the information you need on that. Next on the list is Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. Again, Leigh Bardugo, I already know I like her writing style, so I'm very excited to see. This is following Galaxy Alex Stern, who has had a rather rough life since dropping out of high school. She ends up being the sole survivor of an unsolved homicide, and while she is recovering, she is approached by people who give her an opportunity to go to Yale, with the only catch being that she has to kind of listen in or spy on the secret societies. So I'm interested to see where this one goes. Of course, I already like Leigh Bardugo's writing style, and I have high hopes for this. Don't know too terribly much about it, but I'm interested to see how it goes, and this will definitely be on the list for the month. Following Ninth House, I would like to read The Beast Player by Nahoko Uehashi. This is a translated version of a Japanese tale following Ellen, who and her family have been tasked to watch over the water serpents. Following the death of one of the water serpents, her mother is sentenced to death as punishment. Ellen is able to escape, and along the way finds out that she's able to communicate with the water serpents and other beasts, and has to find a way to keep herself and the beasts free, and free of being used in a coming war as tools. So this seems pretty interesting. I love the artwork on the cover, and I'm interested to see how this one goes. If I enjoy it, I would like to read The Beast Warrior, which is the follow-up to it. I believe this is actually 2 books in here, and The Beast Warrior also contains 2 books. And hello, Calcifer, how are you today? Oh, you purring. I love being a cat mom. So yeah, that's it's going to be another one on my list for the month, is The Beast Player. Just seems very beautiful. Very interested to see how the tale goes and how being able to commune with water serpents is used in this world. Last but not least is going to be Renegades and the Renegade series by Marissa Meyer. This is the author of the Cinder series, or the Lunar Chronicle series, which I've already read and very much enjoyed. This follows Nova, a person who is an enemy of the Renegades, which is a group that, as the world went into chaos, they came about to bring justice and order. She's an enemy of the Renegades, and as she's going about trying to seek vengeance, she runs into Adrian, a person who very much believes in the justice of the Renegades, but also believes in her, is how it's being described. I do like Marissa Meyer's writing style. You know, it may not be 5-star quality, beautiful, masterpiece story writing, but I do find it fun and enjoyable, and I very much enjoyed the Lunar Chronicles, and I'm interested to see what this one has to offer. Of course, if I like this, I will go ahead and read Arch Enemies and Supernova. I do already have a copy of Supernova. I would just need to pick up Arch Enemies. But yeah, so that's going to be the end of the reading list for November. I hope you guys enjoyed hearing me rant about books for however many minutes this ends up being. Thank you if you've watched this far, and in the future, my plans are to have the unboxing for the Peace and Pages subscription box. That should be coming, I believe, in the first half of November. Also on my Instagram, which I will leave the handle in the bio of this video, I did put up a question box to see what people would like to see on this channel, and I did get a couple requests for some plant videos and also some crafting videos, particularly quilting. As I'm rather slow at quilting, I kind of tend to do hobbies in bits and pieces and obsessive spurts at a time. Quilting I would like to do more as like a vlog style, but it would most likely be something that I film over a period of time and then upload when the project is complete, which may not be for a year or two since I'm pretty slow and the quilts I'm doing are queen sized for actual use in my bedroom. However, the plant videos I hope to get up by the end of the year. So yeah, if you are watching this far, thank you. Go ahead and give a like, drop a comment, subscribe, do whatever. And thank you for watching. Have a great day. Have a happy and safe Halloween. And I will see you later with more updates on reading and I guess crafting and plants.